Hello, my name is Jordan and I'm on the video production team at MosquitoCurtains.com. In this session of planning your project, we're going to talk about a three-sided exposure with a Velcro attachment. The first thing I want to tell you is that the concepts are exactly the same for a two-sided, three-sided, and even a wraparound application. Basically, if your project requires you to turn a corner, you're going to learn everything you need in this tutorial to complete just about any project out there. Before we get started, I want to talk about when it's good to call in your order. Many people are going to have these rectangular panels, and whenever you do, you can simply order yourself online. But if you have more complex examples like these slopes and notches, you're going to want to give us a call so that we can help you plan your project. This is a good example of that. You can see this gabled roof. We've got sloped panels up there at the top. This order would have to be called in. But with that being said, going through this tutorial will still benefit you because it'll give you an idea of how we go through the planning process. We've got a few goals for the project. Number one, we want to keep bugs out. Secondly, we want it to look nice. And finally, we want it to be easy to use. When choosing your perspective, you want to use the perspective that you're on your porch looking out towards your yard. This way we can agree on what is right and what is left. So you can see in this example, I've kind of flipped this around. This is actually my left side here. Over here, from that side of the house to this column, is my right side. And the front side is along this railing here. So this is the perspective that I'm going to be using for the remainder of this tutorial. At this point, you've probably seen a bunch of videos. You're well aware of our surface and panel connections. We've got marine snaps that allow you to snap to a wall or a column, magnetic doorways that allow panels to seal to each other with a magnetic connection, and then stucco strips, which are basically a combination of the first two connection types. There are two basic steps to ordering your curtains. Step 1, panels. And step 2, attachments. So let's jump into step 1, panels. We're going to answer a couple of questions here. Number 1, how many panels do I need? And secondly, what are the final dimensions of each panel? Let's talk about the two different paths that you can take. First off, you can take an outside hang, which means you're going to go on the outside of your columns and the outside of your railing. Secondly, you can do the opposite, which is an inside hang, going inside the railing and inside the columns on your porch. For a Velcro attachment, you want to use an outside hang wherever possible. Remember, Velcro is side mounted to some surface. So if you side mount that Velcro around the outside of your porch, you're going to be able to use the rails inside to be able to place drinks on and be able to lean against if you choose to. And the porch itself is going to provide structure for your curtain. There are two basic types of corner columns, regular and irregular. The main difference in a regular column and an irregular column is a regular column has some sort of a straight edge that you can snap to, creating a seal with your curtain, so you can actually directly snap to a regular column. An irregular column, you can't do that. Sometimes it's cylindrical, it's an ornate column, or maybe a fluted or a spindle column that doesn't give you a straight edge to be able to snap and seal your panel directly to the column. So let's talk about handling corners with regular columns. In this case, you want to consider an outside hang and ending your panels at corner columns because, like I said, with a regular column, you can snap your panel directly to that corner column, and that creates a really clean look whenever you finish putting up your curtains. Handling corners with irregular columns is a bit different. Because you can't snap directly to the irregular corner column, you're going to continue around your corner columns without panel breaks. You can see in my particular application that I do have irregularly shaped columns on my corners. But what I want to do for configuration 1 is I want to pretend that I have regular columns on these corners so that I can show you how I would handle that if indeed I did have regular columns. First off, I would start with an outside hang. Looking at my panel configuration, because I can snap to these regular corner columns, I would treat each one of these sides as if it's going to be a separate panel. I can further break those panels down with magnetic connections. So one of our magnetic connections is a stucco strip. If I want my magnetic connection close to the house, then I can use a 3-inch stucco strip and jerk and pull my magnetic connection right away from the wall right there. Or I can continue on a little bit further away from the wall and I can add a magnetic doorway connecting two larger panels. In my particular case, that's what I'm going to do. So let's look at our panels from left to right. You can see that I'll wind up with 4 total panels in my project. Equating that back to my porch, you can see that I'll be snapping my first panel right here, coming out about 24 inches and establishing my magnetic doorway here. Starting a new panel that I'm going to snap to this corner column. My next panel will also snap to this corner column and come over to this corner column. And then I will snap my final panel from this regular column all the way back to the house right there. Alright, so we've talked about an imaginary configuration with regular columns. Now let's talk about my real configuration to handle my irregular columns. In this case, I'm also going to take an outside hang. What I like to do whenever I've got irregular columns is view that initial panel as one large panel that goes all the way around my porch. Again, I can further break that panel down with magnetic connections. So if you want your magnetic connection close to the house, you can use a stucco strip, which is basically a mini panel, or again, you can add a little larger panel there and use a magnetic doorway. In my case, this is what I'm going to do. So you can see that I've got two main panels here going all the way around to this side of the house. Equating that to my porch, I'm going to start by snapping my first panel right here, coming out 24 inches and establishing my magnetic doorway. And then I'm going to have one large panel that straddles around those irregularly shaped columns and then back to the house, where I'm going to finally snap my curtain panel to the house right here. So let's talk about how to measure. First off, you want to measure the width along the path the curtain will take without any adjustments or overlap. Then you want to measure the heights at all corners from the underside of the Velcro mounting surface to the floor. Remember that Velcro is side mounted to some surface, so whatever surface you're going to be mounting the Velcro on, that's where you're going to be taking your measurements from the bottom of that surface to the floor. Then you want to measure where you'd like panel breaks for your magnetic doorways. In my particular application, that's going to be D1 right here. So let's take a look at my actual measurements. You can see that I've got a 70-inch side here, a 165-inch side in front, and a 144-inch side on the right-hand side. You can also see that all four of my corners are equal heights at 108 inches. But not all people have even columns. So what we like to tell people is, if you're an inch or two different in a corner, what I like to do is just take the larger height of one of those corners and apply that as the unadjusted panel height for my entire project. Now, if it's more than an inch or two, for a nominal fee, you can actually call Mosquito Curtains and we will create a custom sloped curtain for you so it'll fit perfectly inside of your application. Now from there, you can see that I've got my 24-inch panel for my magnetic connection right here, and that's how I'm going to configure my panels. So now we need to determine our unadjusted panel sizes. Start by ignoring the width of stucco strips. We'll account for them later. Then you're going to determine your unadjusted panel widths by making sure that the sum width of all of your panels equals the sum width of all of your sides. Alright, so if you look at my actual measurements, I drop in my 24-inch panel right here, and you can see that my big, large panel that goes around here comes out to 355 inches. So if I add my 24-inch panel and 355 inches and equate that to the sides, you can see that 379 inches equals 379 inches. Alright, so now let's do our final panel adjustments. We've got a very simple process that will allow you to adjust the height and the width of your panel so that it'll fit perfectly for your application. Let's first talk about height adjustments. Assuming you measure just the exposure without any overlap, you're going to automatically add 2 inches per panel regardless of width. So my 108-inch high panels become 110 inches apiece. Now if you think about this logically, basically what I've done is I've added an inch on top for my Velcro mounting surface, and I've added an inch on the bottom to seal the base of my curtain. But some people actually have more room on their Velcro mounting surface, so if you choose to, you can actually add an inch or two here. That'll give you a little bit of room to play with on where you actually mount the Velcro. So feel free to add an inch or two on the height if you have plenty of room to play with on your Velcro mounting surface. Now let's move on to width adjustments. Assuming that you measured just the exposure without any overlap, we've got a very simple 3-step process to go through on your panels to make sure that your width comes out exactly as you need it to. So first off, let's just run through these steps on panel 1. So on panel 1, you can see that I've got 24 inches in width. First off, automatically add 2 inches per panel regardless of width. Secondly, add another inch per panel for each edge that will snap to some surface. Looking at this first panel, I can see that this side right here is going to snap to a surface, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 there. And then finally, subtract 1 inch for each edge connecting to a stucco strip and ignore the width of the strip itself. Because I'm not connecting to a stucco strip here, I can subtract 0, and that'll give me a total width of 2 feet and 3 inches. Repeating the same process on my 355 inch panel yields 355 inches plus 2 inches because it's a panel, plus another inch because I'm going to be snapping to this side right here. And then finally, again, I'm not connecting to a stucco strip, so I subtract 0 there. So my final panel width will be 29 feet and 10 inches. So whenever I place my order, these will be my final panels. Alright, so we've made it through step 1 and we're on to our final step, attachments. In this section, we're going to answer the question, what attachments do I need? So let's look at our panel connections. You can see that I have 2 panels, 2 panel to surface connections where I'm going to use marine snaps to snap to my sides, and then 1 magnetic connection where the panels are going to seal to each other. Let's talk about marine snaps. When sealing to the sides, 5 snaps placed vertically is a good number to use. In addition, you're going to want to place a snap in the 2 upper corners of each panel. This is because Velcro is a really strong hold in the middle, but it tends to be a weak hold on the edges, so we like to reinforce those edges with a marine snap. You'll also likely use extra snaps to seal the base of your curtain, and I want you to remember that the $130 industrial snap tool is fully refundable. So looking at my project, I'm going to be snapping to this surface over here with marine snaps, snapping to this surface here. I'm going to be using extra snaps to go around the base of my curtain to seal the base, plus I'm going to be using marine snaps to secure the corners of my curtains. So I'm definitely going to order that $130 industrial snap tool, and as soon as I'm done with my project, I'll just ship it back to Mosquito Curtains and they'll give me a full refund. So if you look at my actual project, I've got 2 panels, and because I need a snap in the upper corners of each of those panels, that's going to be 2 panels times 2 snaps is 4 marine snaps for the upper corners of my panels. 2 surface connections times 5 snaps each is going to come out to 10 total snaps to seal the sides, and then I'm going to add an additional 6 or so for sealing the base. So that'll give me 20 total snaps to complete my project. Now let's talk about magnets and fiberglass rods. 5 magnet pairs, which is 10 total magnets, is generally a good number to use for applications under 8 feet tall. You want to space your magnets 12 to 24 inches apart, and each magnetic connection is going to require 2 fiberglass rods. In my particular scenario, I've got 1 magnetic connection times 10 magnets equals 10 total magnets, plus 1 connection times 2 fiberglass rods is going to give me 2 fiberglass rods that I need for my project. Alright, so let's talk about elastic cords. Each corner of an inside hang application requires an elastic cord, but outside hangs don't require elastic cord as the structure itself provides something for the curtain to go around. So in my particular application, I'm using an outside hang to go around these irregular columns. So because I'm using an outside hang and my porch is going to provide my structure for me, I'm going to have to order 0 elastic cords. Alright, so this is our final attachments order. One thing that I like to mention when talking about attachments is order plenty. In fact, whenever I complete a project, I like to order extra. Because if you order too many snaps or too many magnets, you can always return them with the industrial snap tool, and we will happily add whatever you send us back to your $130 refund. Alright, so we are done. This is going to be our final order. So whenever we get over to the order page at mosquitocurtains.com, I can simply order my panels and go on to order my attachments, and I'll have everything that I need to complete my project. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. As you can see on the left hand side, we've got that raw porch that we started with, and on the right hand side you can see our beautiful mosquito curtains actually installed on the porch. So with that, I'm so excited that you now have all the tools you need to do a Velcro attachment installation on your porch, and I personally can't wait to see the photos of your awesome installation. With that, thank you so much again, and have a great day.